Did you know that compassion is 102 times more effective than typical persuasion techniques? Let me explain what I mean. We live in a very polarized world right now, whether it's locally or nationally or even internationally. And I've been having a lot of conversations on Facebook and my community about the power of compassion. And I often hear this pushback. What has compassion got to do with this? And this is not a therapy session. This, compassion is kumbaya. And so if you have those initial reactions about compassion, that compassion is just being nice, it's being kind, stay with me. Let me read to you this a little paragraph from my book, Return to Mindfulness. A Stanford study showed that a single, approximately 10-minute conversation encouraging perspective taking and deep listening markedly reduced intergroup prejudice in people with transphobia for at least 3 months. And the same approach used by People's Action yielded results that were 102 times more effective than average persuasion programs to shift the 2020 presidential vote. So there's just tons of research. We're just here together for a few minutes, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But just to summarize what compassion truly means is our ability to stop our to disrupt our habit of immediately judging a situation, people based on what we're seeing and hearing. I've been in town council and I know how hard it is to not allow our automatic judgments to dictate our reactions and how we show up in those situations. Instead, what compassion training does is it teaches us to pause our judgments and instead seek understanding. It involves taking deep listening and perspective taking. It involves being okay with the discomfort of disagreeing with somebody, and especially when there are intense values, belief systems, trauma, there is a stronger reaction and we want to act on our judgments. So it takes a little bit of training and compassion to pause our reaction and understand other people's perspective, their lived experiences, to be with the discomfort, and to seek understanding of the causes and conditions. So today's mantra or reminder that we're going to practice with, again, I'm going to pull out my card on Deckable, which is causes and conditions. And we're going to practice with that because none of this work of building these habits of the mind are about intellectual analysis or thinking. The real change and transformation happens when we actually do the work, when we actually play with mindfulness. So I invite you to join me. And before we begin, maybe you can bring to mind a difficult situation like starting a new habit or a difficult conversation you've had with someone recently in your community, at your workplace, or at home. And it could be just something simple, like maybe starting a new habit, like running. And as we begin, you're going to put that aside for a few moments because the first step in returning to mindfulness is always to come back to a present moment experience. And we're going to do that by directing our attention inwards to the breath moving in and out of your body. So no need to change anything, just becoming aware of this breath entering the body, the transition when it shifts to becoming an out breath. And then following the out breath till it fully leaves your body. And the slight pause before a new breath enters. So stabilizing the mind on your breath. And once you feel your mind is settled, is present, then inviting that difficult situation to mind and noticing the automatic judgments you may have about yourself, about somebody else, just noticing that with kindness. What are your thoughts, your thinking patterns around this situation? And as you start to notice the judgments, seeing if you can shift from a place of judgment to understanding with kindness. So, seeking to understand with kindness. Well, of course, yes, this is hard. So, acknowledging your discomfort, recognizing that you're not alone in your suffering. We're part of this shared humanity where sometimes life is hard, a situation can feel hard. And then inviting empathy to understand the causes and conditions for your judgments, for your reaction. And even if you're not fully able to listen within to the causes and conditions, just inviting kindness that it's okay. And knowing that even after we end our time together, you can turn towards yourself with kindness and really making room to understand the causes and conditions, your lived experiences, the lived experiences of someone else that has contributed to this situation to arise. So, as you listen within, you may notice it's your or the other person's childhood experiences, culture, education, past traumas, struggles that has wired us to be in a particular way. And maybe you just see that you really don't understand the other person's lived experiences, and maybe you need to spend more time getting to know the other person. So, given your insights and just that little space that you've made today in that intention to seek understanding, to understand the causes and conditions, what is one action you can take to show up with more compassion? Just a small shift that you can make in your reaction to moving towards understanding. And if you have any questions about this practice, feel free to leave me a comment right now or later when you're watching this. Or I encourage you to check out my book. That sticker is for the Impact Award. I think I'm going to have to remove it. It does cover up a little bit of judging the cover a little bit right now. So anyway, with kindness to my book, to myself, to you all, hope you all have a kind, loving evening, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.